People know that by and large, I hate the so-called video essay phenomenon, and even though some of my all-time favorite YouTube channels might be classifiable as video essayists, I have to heavily, uncharitably generalize the whole segment in order to give the shortest answer as to why I think most of them stink. 1, they're too long. That's an easy one. 2, they're so formulaic, usually titled as some variation as the XY of Z, like The Bizarre World of Drying Paint or The Haunting History of Growing Grass. 3, they're written not like essays, but like YouTube commentary. In this way, it feels like looking at a magic eye where everyone sees a beautiful work of art, but not me. 4, they tend to focus on one really specific point of view, and their viewers get whipped into a frenzy of bias. I don't think YouTube viewers are typically equipped to grapple with some of these topics in a way that isn't just accepting the information as truth. 5, they're made by people who have to talk about a new subject every month or two, so they're frequently informed by Wikipedia article reading levels of research. But I can't say all of that and then just leave it there, because this is one of those topics where I have to present and resolve any possible counter-arguments back and forth in an effort to ensure nobody misconstrues my point with a devastating one-liner like, "Imagine thinking videos have to be short to be good." I guzzle down loads of long-form media, but when it comes to video essays, they feel long for length's sake. Almost like it unlocks an achievement for viewers who delight in being able to say, "I can't believe you made me care about the socioeconomic allegories hidden in season 1 of SpongeBob SquarePants, but here I am, tearing up as I comment. Bravo, good sir, and a tip of my hat to you." I understand that video too long is the kind of argument that a TikTok-addled adult iPad baby would make. It's not just about the length, but more so the lack of meaningful density. Does a video essay about the cultural implication of Fortnite skins need a 90-second intro that covers the game's mechanics? Or is that just there to pad the runtime? Here again, I'll argue against myself by acknowledging that I don't just consume media for the value within its information. I like fiction. I like becoming engrossed in a well-crafted narrative with great pacing, meaningful stillness, and a sense that this is how the producer meant for it to be enjoyed. Not at 1.5x speed on a cell phone during a lunch break. Video essays love to meander and pad and stretch. A video titled "The Untold History of the Red Spheres in Front of Target Stores" likely kicks off with Chapter 1, a brief recap of capitalism thus far, and takes a detour for an aside regarding Klein Blue, Vanta Black, and the nature of owning a color. There's so much yapping for yapping's sake. In an effort to make sure that this wasn't something specific to the algorithmically served material that I see, I found a video essay-specific subreddit, sorted it by top of all time, and ensured that the top-ranked video essay titled "The Adorkable Misogyny of the Big Bang Theory" does begin its first chapter with,
Now, in order to help explain how this convention works, we will need to take a quick trip back in time to the 1980s. The year was 1984.
Cheese!
And one of the most popular summer movies was a film called Revenge of the Nerds.
By the way, I have to cite specific examples for this. I'd rather keep my gripes conceptual and non-specific, but I don't think that they will land the same without real examples. None of the videos I mentioned today should be seen as value judgments on the producers of the works, nor invitations to leave unkind comments about them. While I don't necessarily hate the players, I do despise the game. The way that they're usually written is like formulaic essays we were forced to write in grade school, except worse. Intro, thesis statement, chapters under defined headlines, and maybe a reminder to like and subscribe in place of a conclusion. If you just listen to the words, very few video essays come to a stop. They just sort of slow down until it's deemed to be over. When I think back on some of my favorite essays from seasoned writers, they have this artful way of summarizing or referencing what's been covered, and they leave you with a distinct sense of conclusion. Again, I'm genuinely sorry to single anybody out with an example, but this one just so happens to be among the most recent 45-minute long video essays I've heard about, And after skipping past most of it to get to the conclusion, the final couple sentences were so unsatisfying as a thoughtfully written conclusion, I didn't go back in to hear the rest of it.
The concept of ownership in general, and it's definitely something I've been guilty of and will be working on improving in myself going forward. So that was the video. I hope I've approached this with the humility of a man who knows his own shortcomings. Tell me, what's the most plagiarism you've ever done? And leave your full name in the comments so I can tell on you. Thank you very much for watching. Tom Scar out.
Maybe it's unfair to compare the conclusion writing abilities of a YouTuber to those of a published artist, but there are legitimately well-written endings that if you skipped half the video to get to the end might make you go back and watch the rest so that you can enjoy the payoff. These are endings that, when read or heard on their own without all the buildup, don't make you feel as though you dodged a bullet, but as if you missed out on the firing of a really cool gun.
Over the next few weeks, I had some wonderful conversations with friends about Outer Wilds, comparing our experiences and reflections. But what's more, I finally understood the silence the club chose to operate in. By being intentionally quiet about Outer Wilds, they were telling everyone exactly what they needed to know. They couldn't have been any louder. But I think that's all I'm going to say on Outer Wilds, because I don't want to give too much away.
Satisfying conclusions at the ends of video essays do exist, and I certainly don't want to insist that normal YouTube videos need to be held to the same standard as well-written works of prose. But if any segment should be, should it not be the one with essay in the name? By the way, did you notice how I've been smoothly transitioning from topic to topic such that you didn't really notice a hard line between talking about video length and talking about lackluster conclusions? It's way easier to instead say, Part 1, length. Part 2, writing styles. But that feels more like a PowerPoint presentation, not an essay. This video about why YouTubers use handheld microphones is an hour long, and here especially I insist that there's some point of pride in being able to say, I came into this with a mild curiosity and left mind blown that I'd been gripped by an hour-long presentation.
There is an understandable amount of worry about what might have been lost as creators' budgets have ballooned. But if the rise of YouTubers holding microphones shows us anything, it's that the amateur origins of the platform continue to have a startling influence over the culture and taste of the site, and likely will do for some time to come.
If finishing a feature-length single-topic monologue isn't an achievement unto itself, I can't grasp how any viewer could be left satisfied by such a malformed conclusion as the reason why YouTubers hold mics now is to hide that they're rich. Having done no research at all, I can list 5 other reasons in under a minute. 1. iPhones used to come with free wired lav mics that sound better than the built-in selfie cam. 2. A $50 XLR microphone is almost always going to sound better than a $50 wireless microphone. 3. Lapel mics are made to be clipped onto a jacket's lapel or a shirt's placket. If you're wearing a placketless shirt, holding it will look nicer than awkwardly clipping it onto a lightweight tee. 4. Online content doesn't require the professionalism of pro film, so there, you're expected to hide the mic on a boom arm or underneath clothing. If the path of least resistance is acceptable, more people might feel comfortable accepting it. And 5, the thing about trends is that once it becomes a thing, a lot of people do it. Here's a bonus one for free, by the way. Sometimes you don't feel like you know what to do with your hands, and having a mic in one of them solves half of that problem instantly. Anyone who's watched network TV in the past year has noticed how many high-budget ads have aped the low-budget aesthetic of TikToks. Even the big guys have started noticing that internet personalities are defining the aesthetics that convey trust. Surely nobody thinks Procter & Gamble is publishing vertical video ads to hide how much money they really have. Really bizarre stuff, honestly. This feels like a video that was written to capitalize on talking about trends. Compare that to this video about the speaker's proposed greatest tambourine players of all time. Thrilling, perception altering, a joy to watch. You can sense the speaker's love for and deep understanding of the subject matter. It doesn't feel like someone who did 40 hours of online research so that they could profit off of 15 mid-roll ads this month. It feels like an authority figure. This exploration of the ways in which juggling is portrayed via animation is fascinating. You might come across it and think, wow, what a guy. I bet his channel is loaded with incredible video essays, only to see that the channel is dedicated to the topic of juggling. The work is beautiful, at least partially, because the creator knows and loves the subject matter. I was actually thrilled to see this video's thumbnail pop up because a friend and I had been exchanging screenshots of bizarre microphone practices back and forth on Instagram for literally months. It started off with, why is this guy holding the mic with the stand still attached to it? Then it turned into, this guy's holding the whole mic, stand and all, as if it's a handheld. Then we figured the whole thing had jumped shark when people started taping tiny mics to long sticks or plastic skulls. When left with such a disappointing video from someone else, we came to our own conclusions. There was an untapped wealth of ways to visually stand out in the person talking to camera aesthetic, and those who work within a medium that demands its producers to be remarkable found a new and easy way to do so, with a rapidly intensifying rate of one-upsmanship. This whole incident drove me nuts because it was another instance of guy making strong assertions that land on willing ears because a long vid is afforded a sense of authority, not unlike the author of a long textbook. You could make an hour-long investigation about any potential reason why I'm standing here in an apron, even though I'm not cooking, or why the video is presented in a 4:3 aspect ratio and what that might mean for the state of online video. But just because you use a ton of buildup to come to one point of view doesn't mean you got to the truth. I said the same thing about that 4-hour-long plagiarism video. The comment lords despised my perspective, and not to do victory laps in public, but I was right. The general collective who watched that video essay got hyper-focused on one man's view of plagiarism, and it quickly got out of control. This guy felt the need to reference an entirely different recipe in case any viewers felt like his was plagiarized. The top comment was, bro, you didn't really need to do all of that. This guy did a cheeky skit about the plagiarism frenzy, then immediately had to defend himself against accusations that he stole the idea from someone else who made a skit about plagiarism. I don't think it's a hot take to believe that YouTube audiences have a reputation for hearing their favorite influencer share a point of view and then ride for it as hard as they can. Anyway, I'm in a kitchen because I just finished shooting a video for my main channel. The lights were already set up. I wear an apron because I need a place to clip the lapel mic, and I default to 4:3 when there's nothing going on in this unused space. About 6 years ago, when I was so new to posting videos that I would still personally share my own work on small subreddits, I came across one called BreadTube. Thanks to hindsight, I now know that BreadTube is a niche word intended to cheekily refer to the political ideals of their content creators. But back then, the subreddit's description read only, YouTube, but good. I submitted one of my links thinking my work is on YouTube and good, only for it to utterly flop. I didn't really understand the parameters of what counts as BreadTube. And here now, I might still be misunderstanding what a video essay is. Maybe the line between presentation, essay, and journalism in YouTube world is only drawn by each individual viewer. I hope you see why it's so tedious for me to untangle why I find this stuff so deeply unsatisfying, and it started bleeding into my enjoyment of other media. I started watching Get on Your Knees on Netflix and thought, is this even stand-up comedy? Is this just a book reading without a podium? If you do record a book reading and post that to YouTube, is that a video essay? Are the differences between video essays and video commentaries and T-channel monologues just vaguely defined by the ways they make the viewers feel? Is this another case of me trying to put material parameters on a vibes-based issue? I have come to learn that some of the troubles I have with contemporary media are entirely vibes-based, and I need to just learn how to be okay with that. I got hooked on Channel 5 when the whole approach was sticking a mic in someone's face and letting the edit do all the editorializing.
This is pretty much the pheromone of a female grade ape while they're on their menstrual cycle.
Then when the George Floyd protests were going on, they reached this pivotal point where, unlike the previous videos, The cheeky editing carried a heavier message than, look at all these crazy people.
We want all 4 cops to get the same charge.
Man, I appreciate you listening and giving us an outlet and a platform to speak how we feel, bro.
But now the host talks, not with the language you might hear a journalist use, but rather with that of a YouTuber.
Well, we're here on the front lines of the battleground, Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. And as you can see, we got some National Guard troops right here. Got the Army out here with Dracos, Dumpers, and Shiesties. Dracos, Dumpers, and Shiesties.
Anyways, while this ongoing...
There's a valuable opportunity for reflection during this Philly Streets segment that centers on journalism versus exploitation and whether or not the channel is complicit in that exploitation, but it fails to come to a meaningful conclusion other than a vague sense of the other guys are bad and different from what we do here. I see so many comments under this account's work that are just like, you are the only real journalist on YouTube, as if Friendly Jordies or Rob Wolchek aren't right there. I see a lot of, you are the only real journalist on Earth comments, as if real life reporters don't go to war and risk death reporting on it. A lot of the newer Channel 5 material to me feels more and more like regular YouTube-y attention-grabbing work with the aesthetic of journalism laid on top. Just imagine a version of the Logan Paul Suicide Forest video where instead of coming into the frame and saying, oh, there's a dead body right behind me, he's doing careful voiceover, reporting on what a treacherous experience it was. I truly don't understand how you can watch a video of a guy saying, I hired coyotes to sneak me across the US border while vlogging it, and I didn't know that that was illegal. And then think, oh, this is so much better than all the stuff on the lamestream media and what those wannabe reporters are doing. Most mainstream journalism I've come across absolutely stinks, but the concept of replacing that with a politically charged vlog seems very obviously to me to be not the move. The general vibes of YouTube journalism, just like the nebulous vibes that define YouTube essay writing, spin me out into loops that last weeks at a time. The good news is, there is a happy ending to this madness. All of these questions and qualms I had about video essays became unimportant and meaningless in one moment. This is gonna sound like a cynical, black-pilled, nihilist, contrarian take, but I really mean it when I say I no longer worry, ponder, nor care, because in the end, content consumers simply want a ton of content. I have seen the light, and I totally understand now. 10 months ago, Funky posted this 12-minute long monologue about his favorite Junji Ito works. High-effort visuals, extreme rewatchability, Easter eggs, clever writing. Again, the type of work that makes you say, wow, this guy really loves what he's talking about and loves the medium enough to gussy up the work into something sensational. I left this comment remarking on how impressed I was, and 10 months later, I got a notification for this reply. Why have less when you can have more? I'm not saying this sarcastically, I get it now. It's ultimately that simple. I remember having this exact feeling when I started seeing products advertised as highly Instagrammable. In today's Stanley Cup age, we know that to be obvious, but 6 years ago, I was confounded by the concept just as much as I was about video essays. Then, last month, as if through some cosmic coincidence, I threw some Klosterman up on Audible to re-listen to his book on the 90s when this chapter came on about how TV in the 90s really was just a matter of people want to watch stuff because it's on TV. People want to watch long, meandering video essays because they're right there on the screen asking to be watched. Simple as, innit? I know a lot of times my efforts to understand why people like a certain thing can read as smug or contrarian, but this time I really do get it. It's content, yummy, free content, and more of it is better than less of it. Daily post, good. 3-hour podcast, good. 15-hour live stream, good. We are living through the best time in history to never ever be bored. I already knew this to be true regarding the type of 3-season-long, 50-minute per episode Netflix content that's meant to run as background noise while you look at your phone on the couch. And in this way, I see now that the video essay problem was just a me problem, stemmed from a blind spot that regarded the stuff that you watch on YouTube as somehow more important than MILF Manor or The Trust. In the same way that Mr. Beast might watch a 12-hour-long game show season and think, I could have made this way better as a 12-minute long YouTube competition, I was applying my own values to the critique. When I worked at a desk job 8 hours a day, a nice 3-hour chit-chat running in the background could really make the time fly by. To have such a wealth of long-form media to distract yourself from stuff that you don't want to do is awesome. Look at what this commentor had to say. I like the fact that video essays are hours long. It allows me to put them on in the background and just do whatever I need. Video essays that demand my full attention takes me out of the moment. I've watched video essays that are over 8 hours and have had a blast. It is one of the best experiences to wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, and still watch the same video by lunch. I like media that's so good it commands your full attention. In the new attention economy, what's more valuable than that? I just developed this rare, ire-inducing blind spot as someone who doesn't want to distract myself as much as I used to. And what a privilege. I feel beyond blessed to not know what this Glasgow Willy Wonka stuff is all about. By the time this video goes up, it won't matter. After I quit my job, I had to unsubscribe from all but 2 or 3 of my most valued podcasts. Otherwise, what good is it to gain 8 hours of free time per weekday if they're spent listening to another podcaster talk about Will Smith slapping Kiss Ross or whatever the pop culture news is that day? That magical, comforting feeling of, oh goody, my Wednesday show comes out today and I'm on their Patreon so I get 2 hours of distraction time became a liability. If I kick back and zone out, it's not the company's time that I'm wasting, but my own. Who's gonna pick a YouTube video over laying on the ground and watching their baby learn how to roll over? Not me, but I was overlooking the millions of people who would pick a YouTube video over staring at the clock as it ticks from 4:30 to 5. I've talked about this in a different YouTube video, how I won't ever allow myself to listen to podcasts in the shower. That's an easy line to draw in the sand. Shower time is a precious moment alone with my thoughts. To me, it's valuable to ask myself, do you want to be distracted right now? Don't hear that and perceive me to be some hardened monk with ultimate mental self-control. I get distracted all the time. I know that hearing me explain this self-imposed do you want to be distracted wellness check is, to some listeners, just as annoying as when someone asks me, are you even hungry? As I reach for a 4th slice of pizza. Like, oh, la-dee-da, look who finds it that simple, as if they aren't permanently addicted to the joy of consuming cheese. Washing dishes is a less miserable experience when I've got headphones in. Passing the time has never been more pleasurable. But I do wonder if my son will get a chance to become so bored that he pays close attention to the raindrops on the car window, betting on a front runner, watching it gain momentum after fusing with other droplets, and then crossing an arbitrary finish line. Then, I wonder what the 30-something equivalent of raindrop races are that I might be missing out on when I catch myself getting excited to get a notification. Now, I wonder if you got the same thrill when you saw the runtime of this video in the bottom right corner of the thumbnail. I think it's something worth thinking about, but it's hard to think about stuff if you're distracted.